Hello everyone, welcome back. Before we begin today, I want you to do something. Close your eyes for just a moment. Think about something you have been putting off. A conversation you never had. A door you never opened. A version of yourself you keep promising to become, but never quite reach. How long have you been waiting? A few months? A year? Maybe longer than you want to admit. This lesson is for English learners who carry that feeling and who are ready finally to put it down. Today, we are going to talk about second chances. Not the kind you see in movies, where everything works out perfectly in the end. The real kind, the messy, uncomfortable, beautiful kind that actually changes lives. By the end of this lesson, something inside you will shift. You will understand why you have been standing still. You will understand why starting over is not a sign of failure. It is a sign of courage. It is a sign of wisdom. It is a sign that you are finally ready to live honestly. We have 8 lessons today. 8 ideas that will walk with you long after this video ends. And I want you to remember something right from the beginning. Your story is not over. It was never over. You just forgot that for a while. And that is okay. That is why we are here. Lesson 1. The weight you've been carrying. Imagine you are walking. You have been walking for a long time. Hours, maybe days. And on your back you carry a bag. A heavy one, full of things you picked up along the way. Old mistakes, old arguments, old dreams that did not work out the way you planned. Old versions of yourself that you are not sure you like anymore. The bag is heavy. Your shoulders hurt. Your steps are slow. But here is the strange thing. You will not put it down. Someone walks beside you and says, "You can leave that bag here. You do not need to carry it anymore." And you look at them. You say, "No, I cannot. I have carried it too long. I have put too much into it. If I leave it now, everything I carried was for nothing." Do you know that feeling? Most people do. There is a woman. Let us call her Maya. Maya was in a relationship for 8 years. 8 years of trying, of compromising, of hoping that things would get better. Some days were good, but most days she felt invisible. She felt small. She felt like she was slowly disappearing inside a life that did not fit her anymore. Her friends would ask her, gently, "Maya, are you happy?" And she would smile and say, "It is complicated. We have been together so long. I have given so much. If I leave now, what was all of that for?" 8 years. She stayed because of 8 years. Not because of love, not because of hope, because of the time already spent. This is the heaviest kind of weight a person can carry. It is not the weight of the bag itself. It is the weight of the belief that you cannot afford to put it down. We do this with relationships. We do this with jobs. We do this with cities, with habits, with old versions of ourselves. We stay not because staying is right, but because leaving feels like losing everything we already paid. But here is what nobody tells you. The past does not become more meaningful because you suffer longer inside it. The years you spent do not become wasted just because you choose to stop. They already happened. They already shaped you. You already paid that price, and no amount of continuing will give you a refund. Maya finally left. Not because it became easy, not because the timing was right. She left on a Tuesday, in the rain, with 2 bags and nowhere certain to go. And she told me, years later, that the moment she walked out that door, her shoulders felt lighter than they had in years. Not because her life became simple, because she finally put the bag down. You are allowed to put the bag down. The weight you have been carrying is not proof of your loyalty. It is not proof of your love. It is not proof of your strength. It is just weight, and you have carried it long enough. Lesson 2. Who you are without the story. There is a question most people never ask themselves, not because it is too hard to find the answer, but because the answer frightens them. The question is this: who are you without your story? Not your history, not your past relationships, not your old job, your old city, your old mistakes, not the version of yourself that other people have known for years, just you, right now, today. Most people cannot answer that question, and the reason is simple. Over time, we stop being people who have a story. We become the story itself. Think about the last time you introduced yourself to someone new. What did you say? I used to work in finance, but things did not work out. I was married for 12 years. I had a business once. I am the kind of person who never really catches a break. We reach into the past to explain who we are in the present. And slowly, without noticing, the past becomes a cage we have decorated to look like a home. Think of a man named Daniel. Daniel was an architect. He loved his work. He loved the way a building could take shape from nothing but lines on a page. He loved the feeling of walking into a space he had designed and thinking, I made this. Then the company closed. The economy shifted. The project stopped. And just like that, Daniel was no longer an architect. He was a man who used to be one. He would go to family dinners and feel the questions coming before anyone asked them. So Daniel, what are you doing these days? And each time he would feel something tighten in his chest because he did not know how to answer without his title, without his role. He had spent so many years being Daniel the architect that he had forgotten how to simply be Daniel. He stopped going to dinners. He stopped returning phone calls. He stayed home, surrounded by old blueprints and old photographs, waiting for someone to hand him back the identity he had lost. Nobody came. Because identities are not lost. They are outgrown. Daniel eventually understood this, slowly, painfully, the way most real lessons are learned. He started sketching again. Not for clients, not for money, just for himself. Small drawings of places he had seen, rooms he imagined, windows with particular kinds of light. And one evening, looking at a page full of sketches, he thought something he had not thought in years. I am still this person. I never stopped being this person. I just forgot that the title and the person were never the same thing. This is what identity freeze does to us. It convinces us that who we were is who we must remain. That the chapters we have already written are the only chapters available to us. That starting over means erasing everything that came before. But starting over is not erasure. It is revision. A new chapter does not cancel the old ones. It builds on them. The heartbreak you survived made you softer in the places that matter. The failure you carry made you more careful, more honest, more human. None of it disappears when you decide to begin again. A job title is not who you are. A relationship status is not who you are. The worst thing that happened to you is not who you are, and neither is the best thing. You are someone still in the middle of becoming, and that is not a problem to solve. That is the most alive thing about you. Lesson 3. Nobody is coming to save you. There is a particular kind of waiting that feels almost noble. You are not lazy. You are not giving up. You are just waiting for the right moment, waiting for things to settle, waiting for someone to understand, waiting for permission. Permission to leave, permission to begin, permission to finally want something different from the life you have been living. And the waiting feels responsible. It feels considerate. It feels like you are being careful, being patient, being kind to everyone around you while you quietly fall apart inside. But here is the hard truth, delivered as gently as I know how. Nobody is coming, not your ex, who you hope will one day say, I understand why you left, and I forgive you. Not your parents, who you wish would finally see you as you are, not as who they always wanted you to be. Not the perfect circumstances that will one day align so completely that starting over feels easy and obvious and painless. None of them are coming. And even if they did, their arrival would not give you what you are really looking for. Because what you are really looking for is permission. And permission, the kind that actually changes your life, only ever comes from one place. From you. Think of someone sitting by a window. It is evening. The street outside is quiet. She has been sitting there for a long time, watching the light change, watching people walk past, watching the world move while she stays still. She is waiting for her sister to call and say, "I support you." She is waiting for her doctor to say, "You are strong enough now." She is waiting for her bank account to reach a number that feels safe. She is waiting for the fear to go away before she takes the first step. But the fear does not go away before the step. The fear goes away because of the step. This is one of the most misunderstood things about second chances. People believe that courage comes first, and action follows. But real courage is not the absence of fear before you move. Real courage is moving while the fear is still loud, still present, still telling you all the reasons this is a terrible idea. The door was never locked. You just stopped trying the handle. Maybe someone told you once that you were not enough, and you believed them so completely that you began to lock your own doors from the inside and then wait for someone else to come and unlock them. Maybe life handed you a series of hard things, one after another, and somewhere in the exhaustion, you decided that the next good thing would have to come from somewhere outside yourself. Because you had used everything up, because you had nothing left to give. But you are here. You are listening. You are still asking questions. And that means something important about the kind of person you are. Your story is not over. And the next chapter does not begin when someone gives you permission. It begins the moment you stop waiting for them to. Your past does not have to agree with your future. Not everyone you have loved needs to understand your choices. The world does not have to be ready. You just need to decide. That is it. That is the whole thing. One decision. Not a perfect one. Not a fearless one. Just a real one. Made by you for you. On a perfectly ordinary day when nothing outside has changed, but something inside finally has. Lesson 4. There is no right time. Listen to these words. Not now. Maybe later. When things calm down. When the kids are older. When I have more money. When I feel stronger. When the timing is better. When. This word is one of the most dangerous words in the human language. Not because it is wrong, but because it sounds so reasonable, so responsible, so patient. When feels like a plan, but most of the time, when is just fear wearing a calendar. Think of a man named Robert. Robert had a dream, a small one by some measures. He wanted to move to a quieter town, open a small bookshop, live more slowly. He had wanted this for as long as he could remember, but the timing was never right. In his 30s, he waited for the kids to finish school. Then he waited for the mortgage to be paid. Then he waited for his wife's mother to be settled in her new home. Then he waited for the economy to improve. Then he waited to feel less tired. 12 years passed. Robert is in his 50s now. The kids have their own lives. The mortgage is paid. His wife's mother passed away 2 years ago. The economy has had good years and bad years and good years again. And Robert is still waiting, not because circumstances never aligned, but because waiting had become the habit. Waiting had become the identity. Waiting had become the way Robert related to his own life, always watching from a slight distance, always one season away from actually living it. Here is what nobody tells you about the right time. It does not exist, not in the way you are imagining it. There is no morning you will wake up and feel completely ready. There is no month where everything is stable and simple and clear. There is no version of the future where starting over is easy and painless and perfectly timed. Starting over is always inconvenient. It is always a little too soon or a little too late by someone's measure. It is always happening in the middle of something else, in the middle of other responsibilities, in the middle of a life that keeps moving whether you are ready or not. The people who start over successfully are not the ones who waited for the perfect moment. They are the ones who chose an imperfect moment and decided it was enough. Think about the bravest decision you have ever made. Was the timing perfect? Were all the conditions exactly right? Or did you just reach a point where staying still hurt more than moving forward? That point is the right time. Not the calendar, not the bank account, not the absence of fear or doubt or uncertainty. The moment when staying costs more than going, that is when. You do not need more time. You have been given the same hours as everyone who ever built something meaningful from the ruins of something that did not work. What you need is a different relationship with time, not as something you are waiting for, but as something that is already moving, already passing, already becoming the past that your future self will look back on. Time is not standing still while you decide. It never has. It never will. The right time is not coming. So let today be imperfect. Let the conditions be messy. Let the fear be present and begin anyway. Lesson 5. The Gold in the Cracks. In Japan, there is an old art form called Kintsugi. When a piece of pottery breaks, most people throw it away. Or they try to glue it back together and hide the cracks, make it look like nothing ever happened, like it was always whole. But Kintsugi does something different. It takes the broken pieces, it puts them back together, and it fills every crack, every fracture, every broken line with gold, not to hide the damage, to honor it. The finished piece is not the same as before it broke. It is different. It carries its history openly, in bright lines of gold that catch the light. And here is the thing that stops people when they first hear this. The repaired piece is considered more beautiful than the original, not despite the breaks, because of them. I want you to think about yourself for a moment, not the polished version you show to the world, the real one, the one that has been broken and repaired and broken again, the one that carries cracks you have spent years trying to hide. Perhaps a relationship ended badly and left marks you thought would never fade, or a period of your life where you made choices you are not proud of, and the shame has been quiet but heavy. Perhaps someone broke your trust so completely that you sealed certain parts of yourself away, and you have not opened them since. You have been treating your cracks as flaws. But what if they are something else entirely? There are two kinds of people in this world. The ones who break and spend the rest of their lives pretending they did not. And the ones who break and slowly, imperfectly, let the gold in. The first kind are exhausting to be around, not because they are bad people, but because so much of their energy goes into maintenance, into keeping the surface smooth, into controlling how they are seen, what people know, which rooms of themselves are allowed to be visited. The second kind are the people you feel safe with, the ones who have been through something real and do not pretend otherwise, the ones who can sit with you in your broken places, because they know what broken places feel like from the inside. Their cracks are visible, and somehow that visibility is exactly what makes them trustworthy. Your pain is not something to overcome so that you can finally become someone worth knowing. Your pain is part of what makes you someone worth knowing. The years you spent in the wrong relationship taught you things about loyalty and self-respect that a person who has never been hurt cannot teach. The failure you survived gave you a kind of quiet, unshakable steadiness that success alone never builds. The grief you carried made you capable of a depth of empathy that comfortable people simply do not have access to. None of that disappears when you start over. It comes with you. It is part of your gold. A broken bowl that has been repaired with gold is not a lesser bowl. It is a bowl with a story. A bowl that has been through something real and survived it and wears that survival openly, without shame. Starting over is not an admission of failure. You are starting over because you know things now that you did not know before. Because the breaks taught you where the weak places were. Because the cracks showed you where the light needs to go. Let the gold in. Lesson 6. Every ending is a season. Have you ever stood in a forest in winter? The trees are bare, no leaves, no color, no sign of anything growing. If you did not know better, you might look at those trees and think they were dead. Finished, beyond saving, but they are not dead. They are waiting. Underneath the saffrozen ground, roots are still working. Energy is still moving. The tree is not performing growth right now, not showing anything visible to the outside world, but it is preparing. Quietly, patiently, without any announcement. And then spring comes. Not because the tree forced it, not because the tree tried harder or wanted it more desperately, but because that is what seasons do. They turn. They always turn. I want you to think about the ending you are carrying right now. Perhaps it is the end of a relationship, or the end of a version of yourself that you built carefully over many years and then watched come apart. Or a dream you held for a long time before life made it feel impossible. Endings are heavy things. They carry a particular kind of silence that is different from any other silence. The silence after something is over, after the last conversation has been had, after the last door has closed. That silence can feel like the whole world has gone quiet. And in that quiet, it is very easy to believe that nothing will grow again. But you are not dead. You are in winter. There is a difference, and it matters more than almost anything else I will say today. Dead things do not feel the cold. Dead things do not ache with the weight of what has been lost. Dead things do not lie awake at 3 in the morning replaying conversations and wondering what they could have done differently. You feel all of those things, which means you are alive, which means you are capable of spring. The pain you feel right now is not evidence that you are broken beyond repair. It is evidence that something mattered to you, that you loved something or someone or some version of your life enough to grieve its absence. Grief is not weakness. Grief is the price of having cared about something real. And winter, however long it lasts, is not permanent. I know that is easy to say and hard to believe when you are in the middle of it. When every day feels the same shade of gray. When the people around you seem to be moving forward while you are standing still. When you cannot see, from inside the season you are in, any evidence that it will ever change. But think about every winter you have already survived. There have been other endings, other silences, other moments when you were certain that nothing good was coming, that this time the damage was too deep, that this time spring would not come for you. And yet here you are, still here, still listening, still somewhere inside yourself, hoping. That hope, however small, however tired, is a root still working underground. It is the tree doing what trees do in winter, quietly, without applause, without anyone watching, preparing for a season that is already on its way. You are allowed to be in winter. You are allowed to be quiet and still and not yet ready. You are allowed to grieve what ended without pretending it did not matter. But do not confuse the season with the story. Winter is not the end. Winter is the breath before the next beginning, and the next beginning is closer than you think. Lesson 7. You are not starting from zero. There is a myth about starting over that almost everyone believes, that it means going back to the beginning, back to nothing, back to the person you were before any of this happened, before the years passed, before the choices were made, before the losses accumulated, as if starting over is a kind of erasure, a hard reset, a blank page with no memory of the pages that came before. But that is not what starting over is. That is not what it has ever been. When you start over, you do not go back to zero. You go forward with everything, everything you learned, everything you survived, everything the hard years quietly built inside you while you were too busy hurting to notice it was happening. You know what heartbreak feels like from the inside. You know how it arrives, how it settles, how long it stays, and how, eventually, it begins to loosen its grip. That knowledge is not nothing. That knowledge is something most people spend years trying to understand, and you have already lived it. You know what failure teaches. Not the comfortable, theoretical version that people write about in books. The real version. The kind that shows you exactly where your assumptions were wrong, exactly where your courage ran out, exactly what you'd do differently if you had the chance. And now you have the chance. You know what it costs to stay silent, to swallow the words you needed to say, to make yourself smaller than you are, to fit inside a space that was never the right size for you. You know that cost in your body, in your sleep, in the way you learned to stop trusting your own instincts, and that knowledge means you will not pay that price again so easily. This is not nothing. This is everything. Think about the most capable people you have ever known. The ones who moved through difficulty with a kind of steadiness that seemed almost unfair. The ones who could sit with uncertainty without falling apart. The ones who knew how to begin again without making it dramatic, without waiting for applause, without needing the world to acknowledge how hard it was. They were not born that way. They were built that way by exactly the kinds of experiences you have been through. By winters that lasted too long, by bags that got too heavy, by waiting rooms where nobody came, by cracks that took years to fill. The difference between them and the people still standing still is not talent. It is not luck. It is not better circumstances or easier lives. It is that they stopped treating their history as a liability and started treating it as a resource. The chapters you have already written are not baggage. They are preparation. The person who began this journey is not the same person finishing it. Sharper now, more honest, more patient in some ways, less willing to accept less in others. You have a clearer picture of what matters and what does not. You have survived things that once seemed unsurvivable, and you are still here, still listening, still asking the question that only people with real courage ask. What comes next? Not what happened before. Not what went wrong. Not who is to blame or what was lost. What comes next? That question belongs to someone who is not starting from zero. That question belongs to someone who is starting from experience, from wisdom, from the particular kind of quiet strength that only comes from having been through something real and come out the other side still intact. That person is you. You are never starting from nothing. You are always starting from everything you already are. Lesson 8. How to use your second chance. We have talked about the weight you carry. We have talked about the identity you outgrow. We have talked about waiting for permission that never comes, and timing that does not exist, and cracks that become gold, and winters that become spring, and how you are not starting from zero but from everything you already are. Now I want to talk about what you actually do, not in theory, not in the abstract, in practice, today, this week, with the real life you have, not the ideal one you are waiting for. Because second chances are not just emotional events. They are not just moments of insight or tears or quiet resolution. They are choices, repeated, ordinary, sometimes boring choices that you make again and again until a new direction becomes a new life. And it starts with 3 steps, simple ones, not easy, but simple. Step 1. Name what you are leaving behind. Not a person, not a place, not a relationship or a job or a city. A version of yourself, because that is what you are really leaving behind when you start over. Not the external circumstances, though those may change too, but the internal posture, the way you have been relating to yourself and to the world, the story you have been telling about who you are and what you deserve and what is possible for you. Sit with this. Write it down if you need to, not as a list of failures or regrets, as a clear, honest description of the version of yourself you are ready to release, the version that waited for permission, the version that stayed too long out of fear, the version that kept the bag heavy because putting it down felt like losing. Say goodbye to that version. Thank it if you can because it got you here, and then let it go. Step 2. Choose one small door to open today. Not a plan, not a 5-year vision, not a complete reinvention of your life that requires everything to change at once. One door, the smallest one that feels true. Maybe it is a phone call you have been putting off. Maybe it is an application you have been afraid to submit. Maybe it is simply telling one honest person in your life how you are really feeling, without softening it or making it easier for them to hear. The size of the door does not matter. What matters is that it is real, that it belongs to your actual life, and that opening it requires you to be slightly braver than you were yesterday. Second chances do not begin with grand gestures. They begin with small ones, quiet ones, the kind that nobody else notices but you. Step 3. Stop explaining yourself to people who were not there. This one is harder than it sounds. When you start over, people will have opinions. Some will be kind. Some will be confused. Some will ask questions that feel more like accusations. Some will offer the kind of support that is really just concern wearing a friendly face, and you will feel the pull to justify yourself, to explain your reasoning, to make your choices understandable to everyone who is watching. Resist that pull. You do not owe anyone a complete account of the interior journey that brought you to this decision. You do not need to defend your second chance to people who were not present for what made it necessary. Your reasons belong to you. Your story belongs to you. Your next chapter belongs to you. Be kind. Be honest. But do not shrink your new beginning to fit inside someone else's comfort zone. These 3 steps will not make starting over painless. Nothing will. Starting over is always tender, always uncertain, always a little lonely in the specific way that new beginnings are lonely before they become something else, but they will make it real. And real is what second chances need to be. Not perfect, not fearless, not applauded by everyone you know. Just real, just yours, just begun. We started this lesson with a question. How long have you been waiting? And somewhere in these 8 lessons, I hope something shifted. Not dramatically, not all at once, but quietly, the way real things shift. The way winter moves toward spring without announcing itself. The way a crack fills with gold so slowly you almost do not notice until one day you hold the bowl up to the light and think, when did this become beautiful? You have been carrying a heavy bag, and now you know you are allowed to put it down. You have been frozen inside a story that was never the whole truth of you, and now you know that you are not that story. You are the person still writing it. The permission to begin again was always yours. The right time is the moment you decide it is. The cracks are not flaws. They are the places where the light gets in, where the gold goes, where the most honest and beautiful parts of you live. You are in a season, not an ending. Winter is not death. The roots are still working, even now, even when you cannot see it. And you know with more certainty than when we began that you are not starting from zero. You are starting from everything. From every hard year, every difficult lesson, every quiet act of survival that brought you to this exact moment. You have 3 steps, one version of yourself to release, one small door to open, one new beginning that belongs entirely to you, that needs no explanation, no perfect timing, no applause from anyone who was not there. And you have this, a story that is not over. It was never over. It will not be over for a long time yet. There are chapters ahead of you that you cannot imagine from where you are standing right now. Mornings you have not yet woken up to, people you have not yet met, versions of yourself you have not yet become. They are waiting, not the way you have been waiting, in stillness and postponement and quiet grief. They are waiting the way spring waits inside a winter tree, with absolute certainty, with complete patience, with the knowledge that the season always turns. Say it to yourself tonight. Say it when the doubt comes back, because it will come back. Say it when the old weight feels familiar and comfortable and almost easier than moving forward. Say it until you believe it. Say it until it becomes the truest thing you know about yourself. Your story is not over. Before you go, I have one question for you. Leave your answer in the comments below because I read every single one, and your words matter more than you know. What is one thing you are ready to leave behind today? Not a person, not a place. Just one thing, one old belief, one old habit, one old version of yourself that has been taking up space you need for something new. Write it down, put it into words, let it be real. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Keep listening. Keep growing. This channel is here for English learners who want more than words. Until next time, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and remember, your story is not over.